Hi there, this is Dr. Paul Firnhaber. It's Wednesday and time for 10 Minutes of Truth. So today I have an article from Dr. Mercola's website, and the name of this article is called Alarming Levels of Toxins Found in Popular Frozen Meals. Now, there's an organization actually connected with the government that does something pretty well. And I don't think the government does a lot of things well, but they do this well. It's called the Environmental Working Group. And they look at many foods. They looked at over 80,000 foods, 5,000 ingredients, and 1,500 different brands. And they score these foods on a scale of 1, which is the best, to 10, which is the worst. And the scoring system evaluates products based on 3 key factors. Number 1 is nutrition, ingredient concern, and processing concern. So one of the brands that they looked at was Stouffer's, which makes a lot of very popular frozen foods. They make things like lasagna, macaroni and cheese, French bread pizza, and they aggressively advertise their food, kind of creating this image as this wholesome image made with scratch-made taste. Now that's interesting. So when the Environmental Working Group looked at Stouffer's frozen foods, they didn't rate them very well at all. Now their one product called Cheesy Chicken Bacon Ranch Frozen Bowl scored a 10 on the Environmental Working Group's toxicity scale. This is as high as you can get. That means this food has a lot of issues, and that a rating of a 10 is absolutely dismal. So it contains sodium nitrite, which is associated with cancer. Antibiotics were likely used in the meat. It contains a non-specific ingredient flavor. They have no idea what flavor means or what it is. Even the government scientists and regulators often have to guess at that. It contains food additives of higher concern, and it's classified as having high processing concerns. The Environmental Working Group further notes, this product contains the following ingredients that may be genetically engineered or derived from genetically engineered crops: soy protein isolate, sugars, maltodextrin, modified food starch, and modified cornstarch. So Stouffer's is owned by Nestle, and these ingredients aren't unique to Stouffer's. There's lots of different foods that have that. But when they looked at this particular brand of frozen food, Stouffer's got some pretty low grades. Now, these are they're called ultra-processed foods. And about 61% of American food intake comes in the form of highly processed food and drinks. That's similar to Canada, which is 62%, and the United Kingdom, which is 63%. You know, ultra-processed foods tend to be very energy dense, meaning a lot of carbs, but very low in nutrition. And so these foods are primarily grains, fats and sweets, dairy, beans, nuts, and seeds. So here's some examples that they give in this article of ultra-processed foods, and it isn't something that you have to guess at or I even really needed to read because I pretty much already knew this, but bread, cakes, and pies, you know, those big muffins you get in stores, ultra-processed, salted crackers, cookies, margarine, meat products including ham, hot dogs, and hamburgers, and pretty much any sugar-sweetened beverage. These ultra-processed foods are tied to a lot of health issues. And this year there's a meta-analysis which included almost 10 million participants. And they found that higher intake of ultra-processed foods was associated with higher risks of adverse health outcomes. That included cancer, mental illness, respiratory problems, cardiovascular illness, gastrointestinal illness, and all-cause mortality. So when you're looking at this article and what they're saying that Stouffer's is ultra-processed and contains a lot of ingredients that are really harmful to human health. Intensive industrial processing contains a lot of potentially harmful substances, including acrolein, acrylamide, advanced glycation end products, which tends to that causes wrinkles and aging, furans, heterocyclic amines, industrial trans fatty acids, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are linked to chronic inflammatory disease. Harmful contaminants such as bisphenols, microplastics, and phthalates often exist in packaging materials and can migrate into the food. Dr. Mercola goes on to say that consuming heavily processed junk food takes a toll on your whole body, including your brain. Research published in JAMA Neurology demonstrated that consuming ultra-processed foods such as breakfast cereal, which I've railed against for a long time, frozen foods, and soda could lead to cognitive decline and increase your risk of Alzheimer's disease. So what I would recommend that you do is get as much ultra-processed food out of your diet as you can. Now, I think it's pretty hard to get it all out, but you can get most of it out. This article says replacing just 10% of ultra-processed food in the diet with unprocessed or minimally processed foods was associated with a 19% lower risk of dementia, highlighting how powerful even minimally healthy dietary changes can be. Ultra-processed foods are typically loaded with seed oils, also known as vegetable oils, such as corn, soybeans, sunflower, and canola oil. At a molecular level, excess linoleic acid or omega-6 fatty acid consumption damages your metabolism and impedes your body's ability to generate energy, driving chronic disease. So, the moral of the story is that most of the foods that are consumed by Americans are destroying their health. And I've talked about this many times before. Get as much of that out of your diet as you can. I mean, if you look at the health of our country, we're one of the fattest, most diabetic, most nutrient deficient, most infertile societies and drug dependent societies that's ever lived. And a lot of it's our food. I mean, most of it is. The food industry makes you sick. The pharmaceutical industry keeps you sick. So you can start by getting these ultra-processed foods out of your diet and eating whole, organic, unprocessed food. So that's all I have for today. Next week, we have a talk in our office Tuesday night on whiplash injuries, and we would love to see you there, or we would love to have you online watching the talk at 6:30. So this is Dr. Paul Firnhaber from Lincoln Disc and Nutrition here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And if you want to get in touch with our office, our number is 402-488-2220. Have a great and safe day.